Hi everyone, my name is Diana. Welcome back to my sewing room, and today I have a fun little project for you that is going to use the 6-inch curvy log cabin trim tool by Creative Grids. And this is the project right here. It's a fun little table runner, and as you can see, these blocks up here curved, and that is because you're going to be using strips that are wide and narrow. Your narrow strips are your background strips, and your wide strips are your pattern strips here. Let me talk to you a little bit about what you'll need to make this project. There is a pattern by Cut Loose Press. It's called Roundabout, and we do have this available for you in the shop. There's also the 6-inch curvy log cabin trim tool, and in a couple of minutes here I'm going to show you exactly how this works and how to make one section of those blocks. And you'll also need either a layer cake or a jelly roll and some background fabric. Now, the pattern itself is actually written for layer cakes, and what they have to do is they have you cut strips, and then they have you cut them down into certain lengths and then use them to make these blocks. But I discovered as I was playing with what I needed to make the demo for you today that I could also use a jelly roll for this. And I don't know how many of you know this, but we do have a jelly roll club going on for you at wishuponaquilt. If you go to the website, there's details there, or you can give a call to the shop during the week between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Their number is 919-782-6363, and anybody there can give you details on the jelly roll club. So before I go into actually how to make the blocks themselves, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things that I found made this really successful. I don't know how many of you use a regular ironing board in your sewing room, but I actually do not use a regular ironing board. What I use is this here. This is it's about a 3-foot piece of plywood covered with a piece of batting, and also then covered with a piece of cotton canvas. And I have a smaller version of it here, and I'll talk to you a little bit about why I have the smaller version as well. Number one, I use the smaller version when I teach classes at the shop. I bring this with me, and this works great because when you're piecing, you want a nice solid surface underneath your patchwork when you're pressing. It keeps your seams from distorting, and it really makes a difference on your patchwork. It makes it nice and crisp when you go to press it. As you can see on the back here, all I've done is just stapled the batting and the cotton canvas with just a staple gun. And my husband was very easily able to cut these down for me on his table saw. If you don't have that option, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they can cut them into specific sizes for you. This is just a 12-inch by 12-inch piece. And let me tell you another reason why I would use this in my pressing when I'm doing this for these log cabin blocks. When you go to put these log cabin blocks together, I'm going to take out a little piece of my sample here for you. When you go to put these log cabin blocks together, you are going to be putting on, you're going to be sewing 2 pieces here, and then you're going to be adding on the logs as you go around. And each time you put a piece on, you have to press. And so instead of going all the way over to your ironing board from your sewing machine, what you can do instead is have this little pressing board with you. And you have a couple of different options when you're pressing in between going to your large ironing board. One of the options is to use this little iron here. It's called a Steamfast iron, and we have these available at the shop. These things are fantastic. They do not shut off. There is no auto shut off feature with these irons. And the other thing that's great about these irons is that they get really, really hot. And they're great for smaller pieces of patchwork like this log cabin block. I also bring these with me to the shop when I go to teach because I have found that they get hotter than the irons that we have in the shop, and they don't get in the way in the limited space that we have to press there. So as you're going through and you are putting your pieces together, you can plug this in next to your sewing machine and you can press these out. If you don't want to use heat near your sewing machine, I have another great little tool for you. and it's this tool here. This tool is called the Roll and Press. It's Clover Roll and Press, and it's a product by Joan Hawley of Lazy Girl Designs. We do carry this in the shop. And the great thing about this is instead of using heat, as you're done with each section, you can just use this for finger pressing. And I use this all the time. I use it for stuff like this, but I also use it when I have to do something like paper piecing in the hoop when I'm doing embroidery. This thing has been worth its weight in gold. I use it all the time. It's one of my favorite tools in my sewing room. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is Best Press by Mary Ellen. This is a sizing alternative, and it is really fantastic. And what it does is it gives your fabric just a little bit of body. And so if you're having difficulty pressing seams that may not be working the way you want them to, a little spritz of Best Press can really go a long way. The other thing that this is great for is when you're first pressing your fabrics before you even go to sew them, it gives them a little bit of body, and it makes your fabric a little bit easier to sew through. I also have one of these continuous mist sprayers, and I actually have 3 of these in my sewing room. I've got one for the unscented Best Press. Best Press also comes in several different scents, and we do have several of them at the shop. So I've got one for the scented, one for the unscented, and one just for water, because I actually never use steam in my iron because I find that it makes my fabric just a little bit too limp. So if I need something instead of steam, I tend to use Best Press in a continuous mist sprayer. And I will show you really quickly. You're not going to be able to see this very well, but this gives you a nice wide area when you spray it. If you use the sprayer that just comes with this bottle, it actually just sprays in one little spot. This actually sprays over a larger area, which makes it much easier to spray on your fabrics, and you actually end up using less because you're not using a concentrated amount. It's misting out over the whole entire section of your fabric. So now that I've talked to you a little bit about the few things that I use when I am pressing, let me go ahead and show you how this 6-inch log cabin tool works. Okay, so once you get your pattern, it's going to tell you exactly how much background fabric and everything that you need to make this pattern. And what they have you do is cut strips for the logs, and all the information is right here on your pattern, what size to cut. So let me go ahead and show you where the block is, that each individual block is that you're going to be making. So if you look here, this is one block, and you need 4 of them to make each circle in your log cabin unit. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to pick 4 different fabrics that are close in color that will go together from either your layer cake or your jelly roll, that go close together in fabric and are in value and in color, and you're going to put those together, and you will end up with what looks like circles in your pattern. So once you are ready to go ahead and cut all your strips and everything that you need, the next thing that I recommend that you do is lay them out by size. And this literally is a piece of foam core with some batting on it, and this was just a piece of washi tape around the edges to keep it pretty. I have been using this particular piece for years. I just bought a piece of foam core at the dollar store and used some leftover batting, and I basically consider it my mini design wall. And what I do is I lay the pieces out in order of how they're going to go on my block. And that makes it a lot easier. The other thing that I do is I keep my pattern right with me. And as you can see here, right here on the pattern, it has a sample block laid out for you. So I know exactly how my fabric is supposed to be laid out when I go to sew it. So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to start with your first round of sewing. And you're going to take your center square here, and you're going to sew your first log onto it, and you're going to finger press or press at your machine. And then you're going to sew your second log onto it, and you're going to finger press or press that on your machine. Sew your third log on, again, press, and then you'll sew your fourth log on. And that is when I take it over to my iron and I actually press the whole thing out. Finger pressing just makes this process a lot easier. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to lay out your units with the narrow strips on one side, okay? And as you can see here on my tool, I've got a narrow round 1, a narrow round 2, and a center square. I also have a wide round 1 and a wide round 2 and a center square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I am going to take the narrow round 1 after I get my first round together, and I'm going to line up that square on the center square that I've sewed all my other logs onto. And I am going to trim the excess off, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate both my units and my tool, and I am going to now use the wide round 1 because these are the wider strips. So I'm now going to use the wide round 1. And I'm going to line up that center square, and I'm going to trim. So that is my first round done. And you can see that's trimmed so that you're ready to do the next section. So the second section, I go over to my sewing machine and I add on the second logs, the second round of logs, and I always add my wide ones first and then my narrow ones. I'm going to bring it back, and then I am going to line up my narrow round 2 square on the center square, and I am going to trim. Then I'll turn my unit, turn my tool, and line up my wide round 2 on my center square and trim off the excess. So now I am all set to take this over and add the last round. As you can see here, I've now added my last round, and I've added my wide logs and my narrow logs. And this is where something like this is going to come in handy. This is just a small mat that I keep if I ever need to turn something, if I need to turn my piecing without lifting it up. Some people have rotating mats for this. Small mats work great for this. Whatever you have in your sewing room that would work well for this is great. So now I am going to take this last one and I'm going to line up this center square for round 3 on that center square. And as you can see, my tool is now fully within the whole entire unit. So I'm going to trim and trim, and now I am going to rotate my mat and trim the last bit. And there you have your finished unit. Now, as you can see, the way to really make this work and to make it look curvy is that you do need those wide strips and those narrow strips, and that's what makes it different from a regular log cabin. So for this final piece, what I ended up doing, since on this one I actually used a layer cake, instead of adding a backing, because you only need 16 pieces from that layer cake, I actually just went and added the rest of the layer, some of those layer cake squares onto the back to use for my backing. The good thing about this is if you wanted to display what was in here, you could actually turn this over on your table and use this as a table runner as well. And then they just have you do a piano key border with your leftover strips. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Want to remind you that we will continue to do these as long as we're still under stay-at-home orders. We do miss seeing all of you in the shop. I just want to remind you that next Sunday is Mother's Day, and Frank is running some great specials in the shop on different machines. You can give them a call and they can tell you what the prices are on some of the different machines. They do have some of that available on our webpage. Call the shop at 919-782-6363 and ask for Frank or Costa to get some details about the different machines that we have available. We also are getting a bunch of new fabrics in the next couple of weeks, and I will be talking about some of those fabrics in some of my future videos. And if you do need help picking anything out, don't hesitate to give the shop a call or send them an email. I know some of you were also wondering about Costa's mask pattern that he did last week. That is available if you email the shop at wishuponaquilt@bellsouth.net. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day.